back for me. Of course. I thought you'd forgotten. I never forgot. Not for one moment. I knew I'd find you in the end. It's our destiny. Destiny.
So Jamal thinks that he's only survived in life because it's his destiny, and he also believes to his core that he's only survived on the game show because it's destiny as well. And it's this abiding, ongoing sense of destiny that gives Jamal hope, even when the pressure is on.
With 197 first-class centuries, the answer is D. Jacobs! So, are you ready for the final question? For 20 million rupees.
No. But maybe it's written, no?
Maybe. Okay, if the final question on who wants to be what a show, ladies and gentlemen! What a show! Join us tomorrow night to see if Jamal Malik has made...
Leave you in suspense. It is written. It's the first phrase in the opening scene of the movie. It's the phrase that Jamal speaks here in what I would consider the climactic clip of the movie. And if you watched it, you know that it's also the phrase that scrolls across your screen at the end of the movie, just before the credits roll. It is written. It is written. It is a profound statement of human existence. It says that life is about more than karma, more than chance, more than mere cause and effect. There's a conductor who's orchestrating things in a way that you and I will never fully be able to comprehend. And this someone sees to it that each and every person who has ever lived and who is living has a story to live out, a purpose to fulfill. And as I watched Slumdog Millionaire, I couldn't help but wonder how many people walked out of the film at the end of it thinking, man, I wish that were true. I wish I could believe somehow that my life has an overarching purpose, that my specific life is part of a bigger story, one that has part of a grander plan, one that I could somehow discover and then find fulfillment by living it out. I wonder how many people left Slumdog Millionaire thinking that or wondering that. I mean, think about it for a moment. If your life was part of an overarching plan, if there was a conductor who was conducting a grand orchestra that involved every human being, then even when you're going through the valley of insight, or even when you're going through life's low points, and pain, and hardship, and challenges, and times of doubting and questioning, even in those times, then you can have comfort in the certainty that not one experience in your life would ever be lost. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? Not one experience of your life, good or bad, would ever be lost. It is written. Do you believe it? And this, of course, begs the question, if it is written, who's the writer? Who's the author? Well, like Jamal in the film, Christians believe that it is written. But while Jamal identifies the writer as this impersonal power called destiny, Christians identify the writer as a person with a name. And that person's name is Jesus. And you ask, well, where did you get that idea? And hopefully not a surprise, we get it from the Bible. I want to read from the opening first 4 verses of John's Gospel in Scripture. Listen to this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. And through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. And here John is talking about Jesus, the second person of the Holy Trinity, the one and only Son of God, who is co-eternal with God the Father. And here we discover that Jesus isn't just the writer, he's not just the Word, but he also came to this earth to do the work of his Father in heaven. He is the Word who came to do the work of his Father in heaven. And during his time on earth, when Jesus fulfilled this work that the Father had called him to do, he lived a sinless life. He taught people and cared for people and healed people. And he gathered around himself 12 disciples, 12 followers that he could invest in and train up to be leaders that would carry on this good work after he returned to heaven. And toward the end of his ministry, Jesus is reclining with the 12, and they're enjoying a meal called the Passover feast, which we've talked about in other services at River City. And they're enjoying this Passover feast together, and during the meal, Jesus says something that would certainly shock them. One of them would betray him. One of the 12, one of his closest, would turn him into his enemies. And something interesting happens in Mark chapter 14, which recounts this story. I'm going to read that to you. Mark 14, starting at verse 19. After the disciples heard this, they were saddened. And one by one they said to Jesus, "Surely not I. Surely not I." Jesus replied, "It is one of the 12, one who dips bread into the bowl with me. The Son of Man," which is a title that Jesus had given to himself and prophets from the Old Testament had used to refer to God's Son, the Messiah. "The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born." So essentially Jesus says, listen, I'm telling you this. There's a story. There's a story. It is written, and I'm fulfilling it. And as much as Judas Iscariot, the disciple who was going to ultimately betray him, as much as Judas thinks that he's going to change that story, that he's going to alter it, that he's going to divert it away from what God's intent is, it will be written. It will be written, just as has been determined. You see, even the things that you or I think will work against this story, God has this remarkable ability to use in the fulfillment of his story, of history. God sees reality the way that it's portrayed in this film, Slumdog Millionaire. You have these scenes of childhood juxtaposed with this interrogation scene, and so it's this constant back and forth, and you're piecing all these pieces of the puzzle together to see if Jamal is actually innocent or if he's cheating. And God's able to look at life like that, not just Jamal's life, not just one human being's life, but every human being alive on planet Earth. God sees all the scenes. He knows how they all fit together, and he's able to work them into his great plan.